So I've been using Snapchat as a tutorial tool since September of last year, and there's been a bit of interest when I've been participating in tweet chats online about figuring out how to use Snapchat as a tutorial tool. So Sean and I thought we'd get together and do a Snapchat tut to help you be able to use Snapchat as a tutorial tool with your students. So here goes. Previously I've tried to use the forum features on MyPlace quite unsuccessfully. The students don't seem to engage with it. I found it was a bit of a pain to log into, and I'm quite sure the students found the same as well. So I decided that I'd like to try and meet the students where they are, and after chatting to my students it was quite clear that they were all on Snapchat, so that's why we decided to try that. Well, I didn't have a clue what it was doing. I had the Snapchat app on my phone, used it for taking silly pictures, as I'm sure everyone does, but I hadn't used it much at all. So the students actually helped to get me set up with my chat with the groups, and they also very importantly helped me set up my Bitmoji, which I would say is an essential feature if you're going to use Snapchat as a tutorial tool. So a Bitmoji is kind of like an avatar that you help to design in great detail, and Sean's got a fantastic Bitmoji that we'll share with you later. When the students actually set me up with the Snapchat group, initially it was actually a Saturday night that I sent out a message just messing about with it, trying to see how to use it, and I was utterly amazed at the amount of engagement I had on a Saturday night. And to be fair, the students could have been out in the pub. That's the beauty of it. They had access to Snapchat and were using it wherever they were. But the first time I used it in a tutorial setting, I passed my phone around the class and they scanned my snap code to then join with me on Snapchat, and then I would add them to the group. Certainly with regards to engagement, it's been much greater than any other applications that I've used previously, because the students have detailed on numerous occasions that they find it a less formal environment to engage on, so there's less preparation or less pressure on them communicating through Snapchat than there is perhaps composing a formal email. Repeatedly they say to me it's an easier way to communicate and they don't find it as stressful as composing an email. Yeah, I guess apps like WhatsApp, Viber and I guess Facebook groups do similar things, but with WhatsApp and Viber the students would need to have your mobile phone number to connect with you. And as much as I love my students, I don't want phone calls from them at 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, if you use a snap code, then the students don't need access to your mobile phone number to communicate with you and connect with you on Snapchat. So the maximum group size you can have in a chat is 31 students, so it isn't something you could use for a large year group. Our year groups are quite small, luckily, and it's a maximum size of 31, so perhaps it would be better used within a tutorial group setting rather than a year group setting. So there are always students who perhaps don't want to engage with social media apps, and we have to obviously cater for those students. So previously what I've done is taken screenshots of essential information in the Snapchat tutorials and then added it to the university VLE. The problem with that was that it took a considerable amount of time. You have the picture, I had to then send the picture to my email account, I then had to save it and then upload it to the VLE. After a few times of doing that, I spoke to the students and said, would they mind screenshotting it and putting it to the class Facebook page. So everyone in the class was on the Facebook page, but not everybody had Snapchat. So it meant that those that weren't on the Snapchat group could access the material through Facebook. Well, actually, I was interested to find out what they thought about Snapchat, so I sent them out a message on Snapchat asking them what they liked about using Snapchat as a tutorial tool, and they obliged. I put those messages together in a blog, which we'll give you a link to, but also I asked the students recently if they wouldn't mind me capturing them on video, telling me what they liked about Snapchat. So I've actually got a few videos from the students telling me why they like using Snapchat as a tutorial tool. Okay, in the Snapchat tut today, we're going to keep it at a basic level and show you how to actually create a chat with your students. And then we'll show you how to use features such as the Bitmoji to interact with your students as well. And also features such as saving your chats. If you don't actually press on a message to save it, it will be deleted within 24 hours. So it is important, if you want to retain the information in these chats, that you activate it to save it. Okay, so after you've downloaded Snapchat and you've made your Bitmoji, which is essential as we've discussed previously, what you need to do now is to be able to get your students to add you to Snapchat. So what you can do, what I did was basically I just passed my phone around and the students took a picture of my snap code. You can also save your own snap code to your camera roll, and I guess that could be sent out in an email as well. It doesn't have to be people doesn't have to be in front of you to be able to add you to Snapchat. So once you've done this, what you want to be able to do now is to create a group. So if you go up to the top right hand side of your phone to the plus sign, and it'll ask you to new chats on the top, and I'll add Sean, and I'll also add my niece Lauren Eaton, who hopefully is asleep in New Zealand. Okay, so we've got a group chat now. As you see in the written in grey at the top here, it says group chats are deleted by default after 24 hours. Press and hold to save a chat. So I'll just write welcome to my Snapchat tutorial. Okay, in order to save this, and you can see that Sean's just popped up there on the screen, so that lets me know that Sean's seen my message. If I press and hold, the options are now to save that message in chat. So I've saved that from Sean, and I'll save my message as well. If I hadn't have done that, then these messages would have disappeared within 24 hours.
So do you have to do that for every message?
Yeah, if you wanted to save it. Now, if you are sending pictures within the app, it's best to send them from your camera roll. If you send them through the app by taking a picture, then the picture will disappear after someone's opened it up once, or perhaps sometimes you get to open it up twice. So if you want it actually to remain on the chat, you have to send it from your camera roll. And I would say that to students as well. Sometimes if they're looking at a PowerPoint presentation on their computer, they might take a picture of it within the app, send it to me. If I open it up when I'm out and about, I forget what it is, then I can't see that again. So if they save the picture to their camera roll and send it through that, then the picture will remain within the chat for 24 hours, and it will remain longer, obviously, if you press to save it. So I'm going to add a picture. This is, you can add some text to it as well. The best Bitmoji ever. And if we press and hold on this, then we can save it in the chat. And also there's an option to save it to the camera roll as well. So I've used this with students with spinal x-rays, where I've taken a screenshot of a spinal x-ray and shared it with them and asked them to discuss features of the x-ray with me. And there's chat then relating to that, which the students can save on their phones. Oh, also, the important feature we haven't dealt with is naming the group. So we'll call this Snapchat tutorial. Okay. Now, one thing I found out about Snapchat groups is that if someone decides to leave the group, then the messages that they sent within the group will also leave. So I would advise students, if there's relevant information that they would like to keep a hold of, that they actually take screenshots. And Sean, can I ask you to take a screenshot?
You can.
Please. Okay, and you can see here it's saying that Sean Morrissey took a screenshot of chat, so it lets you know when people have taken a screenshot, and the students will also know that I've taken a screenshot as well. And you can see again that Sean's just popped up there on the app to let me know that he's seen these messages. Occasionally what will happen is students will communicate with me directly using Snapchat, but if at all possible I try and ask them to keep any communication with me on the Snapchat group. One of the benefits of using Snapchat as a tutorial tool is that all the students get to see the information at the same time, and I I don't really like to engage in private conversations using the Snapchat tool, so I prefer everything was done within the group. So Sean's just asked me when the assignment's due. If you'd looked at my place, Sean.
I mean, it's an interesting question. Do you find that students are more likely to ask you things rather than look for the information when they have this kind of direct line of communication to you?
Not to the point that it's abused, I would say. Yes, I think perhaps they might decide to ask me a question here rather than go looking for the information, but it's not something that happens all the time, and actually they're very good at answering each other's questions, and that's something that's really good about using Snapchat as a tutorial tool. There's obviously input from me, but the students actually help out each other, and if they're going wrong, then I can obviously jump in and say perhaps that isn't quite right, but certainly it helps the students to engage with each other, not just with me.
Oh no, I better go work on my assignment.
So it's quite nice being able to use Bitmojis as part of communicating with your students. So Sean's asked me when the assignment's due, and I've told him it's due at 4:45 today. He's a bit stressed about that, so I can help with this by sending him a nice message telling him not to panic. So in order to access your Bitmoji, you do it in a similar way that you would to access your emojis, by pressing down here on the world icon at the bottom. Sometimes you have to press it a few times to get it up. So looking in the section here, it says search Bitmoji. It's where you would put in your search terms for the pictures that you were looking for. So sometimes if I ask a question and perhaps there hasn't been much engagement, which doesn't happen often, then I can write something like, where are you? I can save that to the chat. But there's a whole host of things. If students sometimes are, for example, my students had an assessment that they had to pass in order to get exemption, so I sent them good luck messages the night before it, and one of them was, if I can type properly, so you can have great fun with the Bitmojis, and the students communicate using Bitmojis as well. Okay, so looking at this image here, you can see that I've used an X-ray. One of the points that I wanted to highlight to the students was I wanted them to identify what the pedicles were for, and the pedicles are the dark circles that you can see that the red arrow is pointing to, and this highlights the amount of vertebral rotation in someone who's got scoliosis. So the question I posed basically was highlighting something rather than asking them a question. See the circles here with the dark inner circles on either side of the vertebra. These are pedicles, and these are used to observe vertebral rotation in scoliosis. Equally, so I've got an example here of a question from a student, basically asking a question relating to a past paper question, and she said she's not quite sure what to write. She's given me some indications of what she thinks she might be the right answer, and said that any help would be great. And after that, I've given her some feedback on what she's written, and given her some more information to enable her to answer the question more fully. The students were really quite active on Snapchat on the run up to the exam, and one of the students actually sent me a message on Snapchat saying that she was really grateful that I'd made myself more available than anyone else, and that they really appreciated that, and also that they could all see the information at the same time. They all found that really useful.
So when you answer a question to one student, all the other students see the response to that. So essentially you're you're kind of increasing by orders of magnitude the amount of communication that you have with the students.
Certainly,
and feedback. And
previously what happens is a student will send you an email and you reply to that email, so therefore one student has the answer to that particular question, but it might be a question that several students have. So with the Snapchat tutorials, all the students get the answers to the question at the same time, and the students also can help each other out as well, which is nice. Rather than me having to answer all the questions, then they can actually use their own knowledge to help each other out, which they do, and celebrate each other's successes, which they do with Bitmojis and high fives, which is good. There was a communication recently. The students had a module they had to complete before the Easter holidays, and some of them were having trouble saving it to PDF, and they used the communication on Snapchat in order to sort that out, which was quite nice. So you can see here Rachel's saying that she found out why it wasn't working, and that information was able to be shared with the rest of the group, so that was quite nice. They're able to help each other out as well. Okay, so hopefully that was useful in finding out how to set up a Snapchat tutorial group, how you can post pictures and questions and how to save those on the chat. And I've got a few videos of students telling me why they like to use Snapchat as a tutorial tool. I've also got a couple of blogs that we'll put a link on to as well. Okay, so thanks for your time. Okay, Jan, I wonder if you could tell me why you like using Snapchat as a tutorial tool.
I like using Snapchat because it is really interactive. You can get quick responses from your peers and your lecturers. You don't have to log on to your university email and all that kind of faff. It's just right there at your fingertips for help.
Okay, Andy, so why do you like to use Snapchat as a tutorial tool?
I think it's quick and convenient. If you're sitting studying, you don't have to log in and go through like the formal process of sending an email, and you can just kind of quick chat through a few things and discuss it, more than just like sitting waiting for email responses and stuff.
Okay, Lewis, so why do you like using Snapchat as a tutorial tool?
Snapchat's great for a tutorial tool because it's instant. You don't need to wait until the next morning for an email back. You can just get it on Snapchat, it comes up on the phone, and it's instant reply.
Fantastic. And what about you, Doug?
I like the fact that you can save the things that you've been told in the Snapchat, and you can then refer to them later. It's constantly in your pocket.
I quite like that you can see when yourself can see our messages, and you can see you can all help each other as well because it is a group chat as well.
Okay, so Morgan, why do you like using Snapchat as a tutorial tool?
I like using Snapchat because it's much more interactive and we can get answers a lot more quickly.
Okay, Matthew, what about you?
It's a lot less formal than like emailing somebody, and then the answers that you will get from a lecturer or whatever teacher, the rest of the class can see it as well, and they can chip in with their thoughts.
Hi there, I wonder if you guys could tell me why you like using Snapchat as a tutorial tool, and could you introduce yourself first of all?
So I'm Victoria, this is Rona, and this is Rachel. We are second year students at Strathclyde University studying prosthetics and orthotics.
Yeah. I really like using Snapchat as a teaching tool because everyone's got a smartphone nowadays and it's so easy to access wherever you are, if you're on the go, if you're on the train or anything.
I like using Snapchat because it's fun and it's a more casual way of like learning and interacting with your lecturers.
I like using Snapchat because instead of going under emails, going onto Outlook, signing in, it's a more accessible way just to go on your phone, swipe across, and then